to heavyweight boxing today?
Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? First, let me give a shout out to Hatman Strikes Back because this is where I first heard the news. Somebody sent me a link to his video because they're asking me my opinion about it. So I went over to the video, checked it out. Then I went to the Sauerland Brothers Twitter account and looked at the message for myself. And yes, they said that the IBF is going to order the winner out of Joshua versus Klitschko to fight Pulev because he is the mandatory with no fights permitted in between. All right, so now obviously this is conflict with the Ortiz situation because the WBA came out and said that they're going to order the winner out of Klitschko versus Joshua to fight Ortiz for the WBA title or to defend it against Ortiz. They ordered that. So obviously there's some conflict here. I guess we'll see what happens, man. The IBF is notorious for having fighters fight their mandatory, which can be a good thing. Only time where, and I'm gonna be consistent, is where I think a fight that should trump the mandatory is if you're trying to unify. You know what I mean? But rather than that, yeah, you should be fighting your mandatory challenger. So where does this leave this this situation? I mean, this is what I think should happen in my world. You know what I mean? If I was in charge of this, I would just have Luis Ortiz versus Pulev on the undercard. Then the winner of that fight can fight the unified champion. Maybe the WBA and the IBF can work that out. I looked at the WBA rankings, and Pulev is rated number 10 in the WBA. And I looked at the IBF, and Luis Ortiz is rated number 6 in the IBF. So both of these guys are in the top 10 of both of the sanctioning bodies, So, but I pretty much spoke on this on the previous video I made, man. If you guys been following my channel, this is my first video about it separately, but I brought this up before. Is there going to be some type of conflict? As soon as Ortiz was the mandatory and the WBA said that the winner has to fight him, I knew this was going to come up sooner or later because Pulev has been holding on to that mandatory position for a while. Remember when Joseph Parker was the mandatory for the IBF, Pulev had the second mandatory spot, and he was going to wait and fight the winner between Joshua versus Parker. Obviously, Parker went a different route, and he fought for the WBO crown. Then the IBF released him as their number 1 mandatory. So Pulev was bumped up, and I guess we'll see what happens, man. I guess we'll see what happens with this, but Pulev was offered to fight Joshua, and because remember with the Joshua situation, first they were talking about November 26th, and then they changed it to December 10th. He was offered that fight, and he said on a Bulgarian television station that he does not want to fight Anthony Joshua. He has no interest in fighting him yet. And he wanted to defend his EBU title, which he didn't. He ended up releasing that title. Now Ajit Kabayel and Marius Wach is going to fight for that vacant title. And he chose to fight Samuel Peter in Bulgaria. What was that? December 3rd they fought. And that was easy work. He went, 9 minutes with a 270-pound over-the-hill Samuel Peter. So yeah, man, in a perfect world, I'll just put Ortiz versus Pulev on the undercard. And then the winner, you can fight a unification fight. Just offer them some good money and, what I'm saying, and put them on the undercard. Now, business-wise, if you're Pulev, why would you want to go through another semi-final type of fight when you already have a title shot that you're awaiting? So I understand that if you're part of their team and you're Sauerland and maybe even Luis Ortiz and his team will feel the same way. Like, hey, man, why another fight when we already have our title shot and we're waiting for it? So I guess that's how they would look at it. But me as a fan, I would want those guys to fight on the undercard, and then the winner takes on Vladimir or AJ. So nobody's getting stripped or nobody has to relinquish a belt. And we can try to get an undisputed champion. I made a prediction that last year I made this prediction. I said by the end of 2017, we should have an undisputed champion by December 2017. It looks like I'm going to be wrong on that, man. I almost want to say by the end of 2017, we're going to have 4 title holders. But if Vladimir wins, he's never had any discrepancies with the IBF. I believe out of all his titles, that was the one that he held on to the longest. I believe he won that one from Chris Bird. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I thought that was the one he held on to the longest. What, about 7, 8 years or something? He held on to that one the longest. So and then the WBA, Klitschko was always good with fighting his mandatories, man. So they never had problems with him. Um, and if Klitschko's the win, I mean, we'll be seeing a rematch with Pulev. Now that doesn't mean that Pulev doesn't, it doesn't mean that Pulev can't reestablish himself as a mandatory, because obviously he did, but we already seen that fight, so it'd be kind of fucked up for him to get stripped to see a rematch with Kubrat Pulev if the WBA were to strip him. You know what I mean? Anthony Joshua, if he wins, look like he's going to be the new cash cow of this heavyweight division, man, the young up and comer. So the money talks, man. So maybe both the sanctioning bodies can work something out. If Joshua wins this fight, maybe they'll let him keep the titles. He's gonna bring a lot of money, man. So I don't know, man. You guys let me know what you think in the comments section. I guess we can speculate right now, but we really is not gonna know what's gonna happen until everything unfolds and it gets to that time. But yeah, man, if it was up to me, Pulev versus Ortiz on the undercard, offer him some good money, and then the winner can fight a unified champion. You know what I mean? But of course, to their team and business wise, they want a title shot. Just my opinion on it. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm out.